This project this month, the technique in silversmithing, is a project that I love, and it's all about ear cuffs. Check this out. So this is really, there's many reasons why I love using these ear cuffs. One is that I can adorn my ears with the heaviest of material. So, for me, it's like you're going to see all big earrings being produced by me. And for me, so a couple different things. One, I want to show you in this technique how to really build the ear cuff that fits your ear beautifully, how to get the finishing work done to it so it's not hurting you, how to get your loops on there. There's many different factors you have to pay attention to. The width, how what the width of your piece is, because you want it to be either, like a 24 gauge would be too thin, but you would crush it onto your ear. You don't want it super light, you don't want it super thin, because you want to be able to move, and this connects to your ear. You want your ear cuff to stay in place, so when you clip a heavy earring onto here, it's not like pulling it down. So I'm going to show you in here all the different ways and all the different techniques to use. So I do a lot of layers in here, and you'll see. So this allows me in my work to be able to use ancient, this is an ancient arrowhead on this ear cuff. And, they're tinier than you think, ear cuffs. They're tinier than you think. So this is becoming a big part of my work, because if I had this earring in my ear, or any earring in my ear, I can really feel it moving around. I actually prefer ear cuffs over my earrings, because then also I can stack, which is super fun. Okay, you guys, enjoy the project. Okay, so today, I want to actually go over ear cuffs with you. Why have ear cuffs become so big in my life? Well, a lot of my pieces, I'm getting smaller and smaller in my jewelry work, but not my earrings. I can tell you that. It's like I'm making really big earrings, and for me, here, this is a pair that I have going on right now, and for me, these are so comfortable, and I can wear heavy earrings. But I did notice that even this one on the right, I almost want to do one earring, but even this one on the right just kind of pulled my ear down a little bit, the hole, to stretch it. And it's like sometimes, it just is troublesome to pull it down. So here's some of my work that I've been doing lately, and that is creating these ear cuffs like this. This one actually is, then I can put objects on here, very heavy objects. I mean, the gem is tiny, the fiber is tiny, but you could zoom in, but this piece right here, oh yeah, this looks good. This piece right here is actually an old object. It was an old arrowhead from long ago, and then you could zoom out. It was from long ago, and it's excavated and dug up, and I wanted to be able to use this on my work, but it really gets to be heavy as an earring. So how did I solve that? And these are the ear cuffs. They're so popular now. When I had a recent sale, it's like I did sell a lot. I wear them a lot. They're so comfortable building them in this way. See how tiny it is? That's the important factor. They don't have to be big. It's just a tiny little piece that fits on this little portion of your ear that's real thin. So I want to show you a couple different versions of building these today. This one is actually built with silver and a brass, which you really get some good practice on using how much silver solder you're using when you're using that type of combination with silver solder. So that's interesting, but we're not going to go over that today, maybe another day. So what I want to show you is there's a couple different ways that you could make ear cuffs, and I have a couple different versions here. You can see how tiny they are. One, with the type of wire that you want to order, the quickest way to do this, and the only thing we need with this project is you need about an inch of either heavy bezel wire, or I'll show you the other version in a minute. And this is heavy bezel wire. You can get this from any jeweler store, and it really is thick enough just to turn into a ear cuff. So when you're thinking of ear cuffs, you know, I played around with a lot of different ideas. At first I was like, do we want super thin so we can crunch them in and pull them apart? You know, and I found for the ear cuff, it's like there is a perfect happy medium. And, you know, you don't want it too thick of a gauge of silver around your ear, so it's so hard to push in, but you do want to be able to have a thick enough gauge where it holds in tightly, right? Isn't that the balance that we always have in our life, is just getting not too, you know, it's like the not too thick, not too thin, but the absolute perfect size. So these work really, really well, the pattern wires that you can just order in. It's the quickest way. What I always like to do, and I always talk about this method, I always like to put together 2 different bezel wires, because then you're making your piece your own. No one else has the type of work that you have when you do things in that way. So you know, when you're putting things together, this is a wire that I used last week. You can use things like this. This is actually a sterling silver strip that is 3/32 inches, you know, 3/32. There's 1/8, 3/32, and half an inch. This one is right in between there. I like this thickness, and this probably is about a 20 gauge. It's a little too thin for this to be on its own, so when I add the addition of another bezel wire on top of it, it really makes a beautiful thickness and makes it really manageable. So I'm going to do, now remember, we only need about a half an inch of bezel wire. So I'm probably, or this, let's see, I don't have my ruler with me. I'll have to get you guys the measurements. I'm going to do about this much. This is 2. This is about 2 inches here. So we're going to need about 1 inch each to do our bezel wire. This looks a little bit dirty, so I'm going to go ahead and snip that up, flatten it out. I'll do 2 sets. Don't I like to do that? This one is a nice thick one that can go on top. So this would be nice and easy. This would be a beautiful weight. You can see I can edge out the sides a little bit. I can have the sides edged. Or, you know, I can do, this one is pretty thin. This is a fine silver. And again, I would want about 2 inches. Cut that out for myself. And then I could actually build, you know, build a piece by doubling it up. Yeah, this is a light one. This goes this way. This one's pretty light, but we could do it. And it'd be beautiful. Okay? So let me actually work with this one today. I think this is going to be a good one. And then you just need a couple inches. I just need to do a jump ring out of this 18 gauge. Because with the 18 gauge, I'm going to be able to get this nice and thick enough. You don't want it too thick. Anytime you're doing ear wires too, you really don't want it to be pulled down. So that'll be good. Okay, let me get this sanded up a little bit, just to get my edges sanded. Sometimes I sand them. This piece has been sitting around for a while, so it's a little greasy. Yes, the pickle will cut into all this grease, but it's just nice sometimes to have it done in this way. If your piece, you know, if you're having trouble with your secondary wire or your first wire, see how nice and flat that sits? If you're having trouble with it sitting flat, like this one is a little bit crooked, you actually could hit it with a rubber mallet and your piece would be in really good shape. Okay, now I'm just gonna cut it right here. Let's see if that'll be a good fit. I like the idea that I have a little bit of extra on each side when I get this soldered together. So actually, I'm working in an ulterior station here. So I'm just gonna flatten it myself with my pliers. This is also another way. You just always really wanna make sure when you do a technique like this that your wire is nice and flat, your edges are done nicely. I'm gonna be filing everything both together in the end. So let me get out I'll be filing everything together, so it'll be really good. There we go. See how that's getting nice and straight? This has the granulation on it, so it's a little bit tougher. You know, you want to make sure you get this nice and straight. Okay, there we go. You can see it from the side, right? nice and straight, it's gonna sit right on here. If there is an area that's, so this is the same as when you're doing a bezel, as long as you can see that it's gonna sit absolutely flat down. By the time, even if it's lifted up a little bit on one end, by the time these pieces both get heated up, it will sit beautifully. Now I'm gonna actually have this on my screen, and this part I don't have to have on my screen. I've got different kinds of flux here that I always like to talk about. This one is my container, and this one is my spritz and my spray that I use a lot. Or I will, with my container, just kind of paint it on to make sure I get it. I just really use my paintbrush with natural bristles, but also you can't really put your paintbrush on here when it's too hot. That's why I like the spritzer. That's why people like the spritzer. Okay. All right. So to get started, I'm using the butane flame again today, just because it's the nomadic tool, the torch. And for this first process, the way that I'm going to get my, I'm going to move over some of this solder. The way I'm going to get my solder on, I'm going to start with a medium. I'm only going to have 2 seams that I'm working on. The first seam is soldering both of these 2 pieces together, and the second seam is soldering on the jump ring. So I can start with a medium and move into a easy, okay? So what I'm gonna do, you could either, if you don't really wanna pick solder with everything, which usually I do pick solder because I just love it, you can actually pop these right onto here like this. Yep, I've got a lot of solder. This is called sweat soldering. I'm gonna pop my granules, my pallions right onto here. That's more than enough. And I'm gonna have to heat this farther away because I don't know if you guys know this or not, but your flux will pop around your solder like it is popcorn. So this is gonna be the best way to do it. And I'm gonna see if I can zoom in here to get this done. Oh, look, I can zoom in here. Let me push it back so you guys can see it. Voila. Okay, so you can see my pallions all on here, and I'm just gonna start from the top. And this is, you know, really making it my own. Really making my ear cuff my own. And so I'm just heating it equally. You want to get in and heat equally. The butane flame is not that hot, so the nice thing about it is that I can really turn it up high and it circulates for a while. You can see my solder flowing, and I'm just going to push it along, get it nice and even over my whole piece. This is a heavier piece, so I decided to work with this, you know, how do I decide which side to put this down on? This one's a little bit heavy. You can see how clean and clear that is now. And I'm gonna put it right onto here. Get it nice and straight. It's still hot. There. Look at how beautifully straight that is. Even if it's lifted a little bit, I mean, it's straight as like I want people to be able to see that there's 2 layers going on here with my, you know, 2 layers. Because why not? I'm doing the 2 layers. Making it my own. And you guys can put granulation across here. You can build this in any way that you'd like to. And I'm gonna really start by getting under my screen. Really, I need to heat this under. So I'm gonna get under my screen like this. The thing about butane and such a big flame is that and when you're sweat soldering, it's gonna be so clean. You won't see a solder mess with it at all. But you just have to get underneath super hot. So I'm gonna actually turn my flame up a little bit and start getting the screen super hot, get it closer to the ground so none of my heat. I'm always, with the butane, I'm always trying to protect my heat source and make sure that my source stays intact. And you're gonna see me, my pick right now is getting very, very hot. So I'm gonna quench it in water. There we go, see this starting to come down, and then I can press Now I can come in from the top. I can see that the whole piece. And I can also lift it and go under it. There we go. See that beautiful flow? That's what we love to see with our solder flow, right? Okay. Quench my pick. And ooh, that is done so well. Look at that. So see what I mean? It's like when you're working with doing sweat soldering, which is completely letting your solder flow, you don't get a mess at all, and I love that. So this is my version of doing something on my own for myself. Now I'm just gonna cut this. When I can, I use my snips. So where is in the middle? I think this looks pretty good. One side might be a little bigger, but let's cut this right down the middle. This is about how much I need. Whoop. I knew that was gonna happen. I'm gonna reach over and grab it because I'm making 2 cuffs at the same time. Okay, so you guys know, you can understand this is gonna fit. This is gonna fit around my ear, so I've got to make sure that my ends are filed very, very, very nicely. Usually I do this on my wheel. I have a Scotch-Brite wheel that just goes in and it takes care of any burrs on the end of here. But I'm sitting here with my file here, doing things by hand, so it's kind of cool. So as long as my edges are not gonna hurt someone's ear or my own ear, I'm in good shape. And remember with the file, you always wanna push the file away from you. If you actually drag it backwards, you're just hurting your file and it's not doing anything any good. So we're just gonna get in here. Get these corners a little bit curved out. Get the back flattened out. And then what I do too is I'll get in and I'll just hit the back of this with my sandpaper. I'm gonna actually do it this way, because I want you guys to be able to see me doing this on my board. Okay. Now, because I just soldered this, you guys know that this is annealed. It's nice and soft. So this will be really easy for me. Sometimes I bend this around a ring mandrel, a container, a wooden mandrel. I'm gonna use this right here and bend it here, the biggest part of my needle nose pliers, and just kind of get a nice bend. You want to really start with your ends. Your ends have to be, it's so important for your ends to be curved really beautifully. I mean, as long as my ends are curved, things are going to fit beautifully, you know, and you don't get a chance to go back on it. So here's where I'm starting with my curve, and I am bringing it around slowly but surely. And if you're, you know, if your hands aren't strong enough to do this, you just really take your pliers and you work on your tabletop and you can bend like this. So I know there's a lot of people, you know, or I can use one plier and hold it in place. There's a number of different ways, you know, just if you're sitting down straight, you keep your back straight, and there's a number of different ways where you can use 2 pliers if you want to. You know, use the table, use your elbows. I've got both my elbows down. You really, at all times, want to make sure your body stays in really good shape when you're working with, you know, when you're working with your hands and your elbows and your wrists. You see so many people who have hurt their wrists, you know, from, and there's your piece, really. I mean, it has to be filed good. I'm going to shape it a little bit better. But you can see, if you see any buckling at all from your 2 pieces, you can, this is a really nice judge of how good of a silversmith you are or how much more practice you need. Because if you see any, if you see your 2 walls separating, that means that you didn't get your solder covered evenly. You guys saw me go in with the 2 layers of pieces, and I completely covered this back piece with solder completely. So there was no holes, no air pockets, nothing. It was completely soldered. So you get a beautiful, beautiful double solder that can curve like this and work beautifully. And that is important. So when you guys get to this, you'll be able to see. Okay, so now I have this shaped in the right way. It looks great. You know, I do have to pickle it, but I want to show you because this is another important part to it. It's like if you think about your piece, here's one that I have finished that I showed you guys earlier. What I really realized was your shank that's going to connect anything, or you know, you just do it plain. But you see how this is really like 3/4 of the way around, or maybe 2/3 of the way around, let's say. So I'm going to want to put my jump ring right about here. Yep, right about there is where I want my jump ring. And it's right there is where I want it. See? So it's not in the middle because it's not going to sit in the middle. I mean, I've done those mistakes. Okay, so here we are. I'm going to actually face my piece up this way. I've got the area where I am going to solder my jump ring. And let's get our jump ring going. This is just that little bit of 18 again. I like using 18 gauge. And you want to get in and you want to make sure that your edge is snipped off like a tabletop. And these are double flush pliers, so they'll snip it like a tabletop. These type of pliers, these are Lindstrom. These I use for finer gauge wire. I used to cut with a lot of 12 gauge and 14 and even 10 gauge. And when I use that, I use these heavy duty pliers. But these pliers work pretty well for the 20s, the 18s, so I like that. Okay, I'm gonna make some jump rings. And I wanna start right here. I'm gonna make a few of them because if I'm making one, I might as well make a few. And I'm just gonna go all the way around. Yeah, I have an automatic jump ringer, but you know what? This is kind of nice. I say do this type of handwork anytime you can because we're putting our own energy as talisman into our work as we work, right? We want that magnetism. So I'm just making the rest of this wire here into, I've got that little bit of edge by the way I cut this off. So I'm gonna just flatten it down. Let's see. Can I hold it this way and flatten it down? I think so. Okay, because you don't want to waste your silver. Silver's expensive now, you know it? Okay, so then what I'm going to do, I'm going to get into my area where I'm starting, right here. I mean, I know many people have made jump rings before, but this is the way I make jump rings. That's the thing, is that it's always nice to see how other people do the work. I think I've got one more snip to do. This one is a little bit not aligned. Okay, now here's my little pile of jump rings. So, oh my gosh, I remember when I had industrial chic, and literally I would teach over and over again how to open and close a jump ring. I was like, I tried to move on. Like, this is where the jewelry world was years ago, you know? Okay, so I know, you know, you guys are close up here, but it's like when I'm gonna open this, you only open a jump ring back and forth. So let me do right here. You only open it this direction if you don't know. I think many people do, but I always like to say this. So I'm gonna go in, you know, one area was double flush, this side, where this side of my pliers hit, but one area was hit with this area here, and that doesn't give you double flush. So I'm gonna go in, make sure both sides are double flush, and get in and close back up my jump ring exactly like that. How to make the perfect jump ring, right guys? Okay, because there is an art and a science to it. Every little thing, it's like, it's so amazing on how we can get better and better at everything. You know, how there's such a perfected method to everything that we do. Yeah, there's ways to do things, and then there's ways to really bring things into, you know, just as good as you can do it. Okay, I'm gonna move these off to the side. And with this jump ring then, what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna close it up with a hard, and then I'm gonna attach it with an easy. Why not? I think the inside is a medium. So anytime I'm away from, I'm gonna put a black marker so I can, sometimes you close it up so well that you can't even see where you need, where your end is, right? Up. Good one, Susan. Okay, let me get another one. Good one. Usually I have my other board here. Okay. There we go. Another thing you can do is you can just hit it a little bit with, I'm going to open this and snip it. You can just hit it a little bit with a hammer, and it kind of just merges it all together, you know. So that's also another thing. I'm going to cut it a little bit inward so this has a beautiful, beautiful meet up, because your solder joint, oh my gosh, the most beautiful solder joint is a good one. There we go. Okay. So again, I'm not going to drop it this time. Just going to put a little bit of marker on there, right where I need to solder it. Put a little bitty spritz of my flux. Spritz that area too. You see, I didn't pickle it yet. I just usually like to, you know, put my pieces, quench my pieces in flux, which is like a borax that people used many, many years ago, you know, for laundry. It's just borax. It's the same thing as what flux is. And it's a, looks almost like, when I see it when it dries, it looks almost like a fiberglass coating. Isn't that interesting? Fiberglass. Okay. So I'm going to do a little, guess what? I have to get out my hard. Here's my hard solder. So let me get out a couple pallions of the hard. Oops, just me being clumsy here, guys. When I have on my magnifiers, there's the hard. When I have on my magnifiers, it's hard. I get clunkier. And then here's an easy, just a couple. There. Okay. These had flux on them, so I'm all set. Can you guys see it on here where it's at? No, I'm going to move this up a little bit. Okay, there we go. Okay, this one was a hard right here. So let me get this nice and heated up. You want to bring your pick to have this flakiness here. Let me get a nice size right like that. And I'm just going to get my piece heated up. There we go, there's my hard. And then the next thing I'm going to do, whoops, there goes my table, is I want to put this little bit of a dark side, you know, the side inward. So I'm just going to clip it. And these are my locking pliers for this little bitty piece like this. What this does, a number of different things. What this does is, for one, I can hold my piece close to here as I'm standing. Can you guys, let me see if there's a different way I can do this. I could do it this way. I think you guys might like it better. Yeah, you guys will be able to see it better. There's a little bit of a funky angle for me, but I'm gonna do it this way because I think you guys will see it better. So this one actually is now closed up with a hard, which is so much easier. If you close up your jump ring, what happens is, if you don't close it up, what happens is that when you're starting to solder, both the ends are wide open like this, and they'll just maybe kind of bounce backward, and you have a disaster on your hands. But if you do close it up, it's gonna make it so much easier for you. So that's why, just always close it up. Okay, this area over here is my easy. So I'm gonna pull these over here so you can see them. One of the tricks that I like to do is I just am gonna bring this over to the easy, ball it up, and then put it right onto my piece. So watch this. Just kind of saves me a little step. And then I have to get, okay, so I'm gonna get this balled up. There's my easy. You guys are close enough where you can see this pallium. Nope, I'm doing all the rest of them, but I'm trying to make it, there we go, see it? And I'm gonna bring it to my piece. Okay, so now that's on there. Now, okay, here's where, so I can actually heat this up. I think you guys can see this from the inside. I'm gonna heat it up a lot from the inside. I can hold this piece against here now because it's closed up, and I've got, it's a heat sink, and boom, you saw that go in 1 second flat. This is a heat sink, my pliers. So you want to, when you're working with easy, it's so easy to disconnect it. So you want to like count to 3 before you remove it from your piece. And I'm going to quench that in water because I'm about ready. Done. And this is what my piece looks like. You can see it's like 3/4 the way around, just like I showed you. You guys can decide which way you want your ring to go, your ring shank. And that's what it looks like. And I am going to put this in the pickle, and I'll be right back with you. Oh, why did that get yucky? Why did this get that way in the pickle? That's crazy.
You keep hitting the camera.
I do. So we could pause for a minute. And then I'll just get this one clean.
Go.
Okay. So here is, so what I just did is I cleaned this up with, you know, I actually put in the pickle, and I actually didn't do this in front of you guys. I put a little bit of liver sulfur on, cleaned it up actually after the pickle. And this is actually the brush that will give me a nice shine. And then when I put some liver sulfur on, I clean it up again with this brush. You know, and then I polished it up a little bit so you have a beautiful, beautiful color here. And so like this one here, this one I actually can use all the rest of the jump rings and attach whatever I want to my piece. Or I can let it go like this. Here's my 2 jewelry pieces that I was talking about that are, you know, just nice and long, and it's some of my new work that I'm doing. And like I said, it just pulled my ear down a little bit. But one of the things that I can do, you know, is either just connect this. If my customer is wearing this or I'm wearing this, we can just put the ear wire right through here, and they can wear it just like that. Maybe squeeze it a little tighter, or you can really, you know, if it is a customer that is just buying your ear wires, or you're just buying your ear wires, you don't even have to put it onto an ear wire. You can actually just open up a jump ring. You guys saw how you open up and close jump rings. Open up a jump ring and put my newly made earring that I love, you know, so right onto this piece. And now this sits up a little bit higher, and it solves so many problems. And I'll have to show you what this looks like on. But there you go. So I do sell some, you know, I sell some of my earrings with the ear cuffs on there rather than ear wire. So that's gonna be up to you. The bigger my earrings go, the bigger my earrings go, the more you're gonna see ear cuffs in my work. So I hope you guys enjoy, have fun with this technique, and you know, the world is your oyster.